Le sommet international de l'éducation du futur réunit une soixantaine de conférenciers du monde entier. Des pionniers et des innovateurs issus du monde de l'éducation, bien évidemment, mais également des êtres inspirants, issus des chemins de sagesse ou des chemins d'apprentissage et de créativité dans différents domaines. Les arts, les sciences, l'économie, le lien avec la nature, le sport, etc. Des expériences et des chemins de vie qui sont un formidable enrichissement pour le monde de l'éducation. Le professionnalisme des traductions, en simultané, et l'incroyable richesse de toutes ces conférences offrent un horizon de point de vue vaste et varié, très complet, qui en font au final une véritable formation professionnelle pour les enseignants, les éducateurs et tous les professionnels de l'éducation, mais également une formation à la parentalité consciente et une formation individuelle à la vie consciente. Face à toute cette richesse et aux divers retours, nous avons décidé d'offrir toutes ces conférences à tous, partout dans le monde, en français et en anglais, quelquefois en allemand et en espagnol. Découvrez la vision d'acteurs audacieux et influents du changement, vers un monde éthique, solidaire, généreux et profondément respectueux de tous, des cultures, des peuples, des règnes et de la planète. Un incroyable panel de conférences, couvrant toutes les dimensions de l'éducation, pour un futur ayant du sens, une humanité épanouie et une terre qui respire. Une chose est sûre, votre vie, et à travers vous, celle des enfants, ne sera plus la même après avoir écouté toutes ces conférences. Pour avancer, nous avons besoin de vous, nous avons besoin de votre générosité solidaire. L'organisation du sommet et l'édition des conférences ont nécessité des milliers d'heures de travail et nécessitent encore beaucoup de temps et d'investissement. Nous faisons appel aux dons libres et spontanés pour compléter le financement du sommet et, si possible, continuer à l'enrichir de nouvelles conférences. Votre soutien est vraiment précieux et vital pour aller jusqu'au bout de cette aventure extraordinaire. Merci.
So I am happy to introduce Yaacov Hetch from Israel today. He has founded the first school in the world that was called a democratic school in Hadera, Israel. In 1993, he convened the first International Democratic Education Conference that was first called Hadera Conference. And in 1996, Hetch founded the Institute for Democratic Education in Israel, and within it, the Academic Faculty for DE Teachers. His book, Democratic Education, A Beginning of a Story, which has been translated into English, Portuguese, Bulgarian, and Korean, as a source of inspiration for groundbreaking educators and entrepreneurs all over the world. Today, he's here to speak to us about the future of democratic schools, preparing our children to the unknown world in a changing present.
Wonderful, thank you. I will talk with you shortly about democratic education and shortly about the future. I plan to do a PowerPoint, but I will talk with you because I make mistake and I confuse with the times. So our meeting will be short, not longer as we thought. And to me, to talk about democratic education is something that it's very focusing about the time that we are today. I think about school at all, schooling at all. You come to school, someone tell you what to do, how to do it, and check you if you done it. And that's what you are doing from the beginning of the school. Maybe you are 4 or 6-year-old until you are 18. And when you are 18, if you live in a democratic country, they tell you now you can choose your life. But how it can be? How it can be that if you don't practice the idea of choosing inside school, they teach you how not to choose. So when you're 18, it's not by luck that a lot of people choose a strong leader that tell them what to do. And they think this is very democratic, to choose a strong leader that tell them what to do. And I want to talk shortly about the future of education, of democratic education, of democracy at all. See, let's think about 100 years ago. A lot of countries was called themselves democratic countries. The big three 100 years ago was French, England, and the United States. In all these three, the woman doesn't have rights. And they call themselves the biggest democratic countries. So in the last 100 years, a lot of countries begin to call themselves democratic countries, and the situation of the women is much better than 100 years ago. But it's not equal. And my hope in that in the future, 100 years from now, when they will look about our time, they say, what a funny world it was 2092. They call themselves democratic countries, but they don't have the rights of the women and the minorities, and there was a lot of races. And the most funny was that they choose a strong dictator and they call them leaders, democratic leaders. And if I need to think about what will happen in 100 years from now, I believe that we will much more will keep the human rights. People will be with much more power that they have now, and they influence about everything that happened in our society much more than it's today. And if we want to see a symbol of what it will be in the future, I think we can see it today around the situation in Ukraine, in Russia. From one end, we can see the old traditional politician. Big country go to a small country, try to conquer them and to make a war. But meanwhile, something unbelievable happened between the citizens. And I don't know if you see we have a lot of democratic schools in Russia and a lot of democratic schools in Ukraine. And they are talking with one another. It's not important that the leader or the country is in a war. They begin to talk with one another. For example, the principals of democratic school in Moscow, they put the flag of Ukraine. Yeah, it's unbelievable, and it's not easy, and it's afraid, but they are very brave. Meanwhile, the democratic school in Poland, they are doing unbelievable things. They are going to the border. collect people that run away from Ukraine, and they try to do really help the citizen of Ukraine. So what we can see today, and it's a network around the world, that it's not connect to the leaders and it's not connect to the political people, it's collect to the people. That people begin to make a network of people and will help one another. And that's what I believe is the meaning of democracy. And to this position, we go to the future. And to achieve this situation, we need to change the education at school. We need to stop the dictatorship education that is going in a lot of schools around the world. It's changed a little bit. We can see today a lot of schools that they are not democratic school, but they understand that you need to live a democracy at school if you want to be democratic person when you are 18. Because to go to a lecture, this is not democracy. To keep the rights of myself, the rights of the people around me, this is the big goal. And that's school can be very fascinating place to grow the awareness of democracy. And that's what I believe will happen. And I see that in the first wave, we are around 4,000 democratic schools around the world. And it's a lot, in 70 countries. But I think that in the future, we will see more and more I call it democratic classrooms. Democratic classrooms inside schools.
I just didn't understand the word you said. We will see more democratic classrooms or classmates or
classrooms.
Classrooms.
I think that to change school is very difficult. I think it's very important what we are doing that we build a new democratic school. But I think another important is to do it in a state school, not a private school. It's very, very important. We cannot talk about democratic education in private schools. It's like the basic of human rights. It's to be free and open to everyone. And to get to the state school, we can come in a classroom inside the school. And what we can see today in the world is more and more classrooms that become like a democratic classroom. I will show you how it's look like. It's a classroom of 30, 20 and something students that they make decision about themselves. They run the decision. They learning in a process that everyone is a teacher and everyone is a student. And they choose what to learn and they choose what project they want to do. So if we take a democratic classrooms and it's begin to grow up in a traditional school, that's something very, very, to me, it will be the near future of democratic education. So I will say in short, what I want to say. One is that I think democracy need to be part of the curriculum of school and not to teach democracy by living democracy inside school. We must live democracy at school. We can make it like growing up from when you are 4 to where you are 18, but you need to grow up and give you more and more rights. And this is something very important that need to be in more school, and meanwhile also to change the traditional school, not only to build the new schools. So this is I think the central issue of what I want to tell you, and now I will glad to answer questions.
I don't see any questions in the chat yet, but I am curious. Did you discover Sudbury Valley School or Summerhill School before you got involved in democratic schools, or how did you begin?
I was at school, and I left school when I was 16. And when I left 16, when I left school, I decided to build a new kind of school. And then I get the book of Janusz Korczak. It's a very famous educator, Polish educator.
How do you spell his name?
Janusz Korczak.
Y-A-N?
I don't know. I left school because I don't know to read and write.
Janusz, in the last name?
Janusz Korczak.
Korczak, okay.
And when I learned about Janusz Korczak, I was very proud. I understand that I'm not alone in the world. And in his book, he writes that he go to meet Maria Montessori in Italy. I said, oh, who is Maria Montessori? I go to learn about Maria Montessori. And they go together to visit Pestalozzi School in Switzerland. So I go to see who is Pestalozzi and when he live and what is schools in Switzerland. And then I come to the book of Summerhill. And when I come to the books of Summerhill, I say, wow, this is not a school that was, it exists now. So I fly to Summerhill and I see Summerhill, and I continue to learn a lot about different schools. And from a lot of schools, I take a lot of things. I think I come from the roots of a lot of people. Later, I found people 2,000 years ago that do not exactly, that come with the same idea. What we build in Israel is we take the ideas from different and we build, and we call it democratic school, but it's not only the change of the name. It's we build the school like a microcosm of a country. When we have like a parliament meeting that we make all decision in the parliament meeting, including the economy decision, all the law we decide in our parliament, and we have a judicial committee that all the problem between people we do in a judicial committee. We have like a government, it's a committees that responsible about different things, and we have editor that not editor. I forgot the name, but it shows if really we are doing what we decide in the parliament. When we begin to work, then we met the books of, not the books. I visited Boston. It was in 92, I think. In 1992, I visited Boston and I found Sudbury, and I meet Danny and Hannah and Mimsy, and I learned from them a lot. And the idea is that I think if you are part of doing the new things in the world, you need to understand that you need to learn all your life. And that's maybe the reason that I left school, because I love to learn. And especially in education, we have a lot of, today, for example, this week I come back from Agora in Netherlands, and I think they are doing unbelievable school in Agora in Netherlands, and all over the world. It exists unbelievable unique schools, or Thea from South Korea that he built now the school of Harry Potter school, that it's part of the states of South Korea, or Kageki that make a new kind of university. And we also try to build a new kind of university now. That's what I'm doing now in Israel.
Wonderful. What kind of university are you building, visioning?
We build now a teacher training college, one of the biggest in Israel, that we do that all the college will work as a democratic school. So we think that to be a teacher, you cannot learn to be a teacher and then learn about democratic school. You need to live democracy when you are in the teacher training program of 4 years, and that's what we are doing now.
Fantastic. Wow, this is wonderful.
Okay, so I will say it's like this. I make mistake, and I thought that I begin 1 hour before. So
no problem.
My schedule that was the telephone.
There's a question before you go. There's a couple questions. One of them is why do it in the public and not the private? Because you said it's not enough in the, and maybe they misunderstood.
I will say it.
Yeah.
I think the goal of all of us, we have the human rights, have 3 goals about education. And if we believe about the human rights, education need to be free to everyone. So what we believe that democratic education need to be free to everyone. To be free to everyone, it's to be a public school. I know that some countries that doesn't allow to make democratic schools as a public school. And to these countries, I will say 2 things. One, make connection with me, and I will show them what happened in Israel. We make that democratic education is the official way in Israel of learning in Israel. So everyone that want to build a democratic school can do it. And I think that's need to be in all the other countries. Second, if the situation is that it's not allowed, if I live in a country that it's not allowed, I was build a democratic school as a private school, but I know that's not because I choose it, because I don't have another option. So you can do a private school if you don't have another option, but think all the time how to do it that everyone can grow his children in a free situation.
Somebody say to learn, can you get trained already now in Israel?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's I found the first faculty of teacher training in 2000, and now I build another one much bigger.
Great, but it's already possible for people to come and learn only in English. It's English.
The problem that this is in Hebrew, but we plan now to do
Hebrew.
It. Yeah, but we plan to do it now in English. So I hope that soon we will publish that we will do something in English.
So maybe, as we asked before, because there's so many great people speaking on this conference from many different parts of the world, and people have volunteered to do translations. We were talking to Naomi, and there was like 4 or 5 people who said, I can translate, they volunteer. So maybe I put it out to this summit as well, to this conference, if there are.
Yeah, but it's not the question of translating. It's much more complicated because we need to, the Israel recognize it's a recognized degree. So we get money and it's free. And if someone comes from abroad, we need to get the money from the Israeli government. And that's complicated.
Okay.
But we work about this.
Okay. So
it's not a private university. It's a state university.
Yes, I understand. That's wonderful that you were able to create that for your country. That's extraordinary. Congratulations on the public level like that.
Yeah.
Yaacov?
Yeah.
Do you know how many democratic schools there is in the world?
4,000, he said.
I think around 4,000. And
4,000.
And I will tell you, I think the biggest one is Japan, that it's around 500. And in South Korea, it's around 300. In Brazil, is around 300. But if you go about number of students, I think Israel is very big because we have around 40 schools, but they are big. So in Israel, it's around 20,000 students that study in democratic school.
Wow.
And it's very important to understand, if you look from the point of view of Israel, that the influence about what happened in our education, the democratic education, have a very strong influence. For example, the Minister of Education now in Israel, she was a teacher in one of the democratic schools. Or the head of the teacher of all Israel that responsible about is like the second of the CEO of the Israeli Department of Education come from the group of the democratic education. So the influence is very strong.
You can see this influence in the society. You can see that it's changed also in the politics and so on, and the spirit of the.
It's very difficult. I will say I think in Israel it's like most of the world. It's like a half and a half. Half is more central left, and half is more right. For example, if you go in the peace movement, you can find a lot of democratic schools students. But meanwhile, we have also people from the other side. So this is something that I think when I say about the future of education, if more and more students will grow up as in democracy inside their school, and that's very important to come to the state school, I think it will change also how people look about politicians, how people look about society. And to me, all the politicians today, it's all traditional politicians. And the new kind of democracy is near us, but we need a new generation that bring a new kind of democracy, that it's not democracy that talking about give the leader the power. It's keep the power of individual and give them much more option to to keep and develop the human rights.
There's a couple of
Yaacov,
questions still. Yeah.
Yaacov,
Okay, Abel.
Yaacov, I have a question because last year we discussed a lot with Vedananda, you know.
With whom?
During Web IDEC, with Veda.
Zveda, yeah.
Yeah, and we discussed about this. When you look at the world and you look at most of the countries in the world are democratic, but when we look what does democracy in the world, it's not so good.
That's what he talked about in the beginning, Abel.
So how it can change the things in the schools, in democratic school, how the things can change to
I think it's depend how you look on the world. I talk about the education, but it's a big view, how you look the world. I think in the last 100 years, in the last 1,000 years, people begin much more take care about human rights. They take much more care about the environment. They take much more care about minorities. They take much more care about any part of the human rights. But the situation is not good. In nothing in what I say, it's not good. But people much more aware. And that's, I think, something that we need to grow up, that people will be more aware to the situation of poor all over the world. But the poorness, people, it's become smaller, not growing. People live more years than in the past. In our area, people was died 100 years ago, much more earlier than today. Murder in the world, people kill one another much more less than in the past. So the situation, if you look about long term, it's become better and better. That's bring me a lot of hope that it will continue to be much better in the future.
Satyana, there is a lot of questions.
Yeah, I know. There's two people who are asking.
Let's say that I will talk the last 5 minutes, okay? Because
two people are asking, how do you concretely make that happen in the classroom? If you're in a public school, and how as a teacher you can do this in your class?
It's I will say it's four subjects that you need to change. One, it's making decision about the rule of the school. For example, you can make 1 hour a week a parliament meeting of the classroom, that you make discussion about what is the law of the school, of the classroom. And you make discussion, and in the end you vote. And you take a part of the classroom and write all the law of the classroom. And it's very, very important to understand that law can change. And we can make mistake, and it's okay. We say this law and we can change it in another day. But my vote as a teacher and the vote of the student is equal. This is one thing. Second, if someone break the law, let's make mediation committee. Some student that talk between the two people that fight with one another, or someone that break the law, and think with him what they can do to fix what they are doing. This is another part of this part. Another part is to build an option that student can choose to learn what they're important to them. In this option, we can have a lot of options. I will give two. One is what we know, project-based learning. We make a project and everyone do what is strong. Another option is, we call it team learning. Team learning is that in everywhere in this classroom, everyone is a teacher, everyone is a student. For example, you go to learn mathematics, so you as a teacher can bring the details in short words, and then they teach one another. In any case, you can also not teach. You can look about Khan Academy and learn mathematics and teach one another. So the idea that teaching one another is very, very important. And the most important of the teachers is to give option of also to the weak student, to teach something. Because we believe that everyone needs to be a teacher and everyone is a student. The other important part is how to evaluate what you are doing. And in this case, we call it a dialogue evaluation. You can evaluate by, for example, peer evaluation. It's very important. A lot of students tell us that when they are evaluate the other student, they learn much more. Sugata Mitra have a very interesting evaluation. He say, let's make exams with open internet. We try to do it in Israel and it's work. Wow, fantastic. So if you make evaluation with open internet, what question you ask that it's not exist in Google? Wow, this is interesting. And that's another thing about evaluation. And the last thing, so it's one was how to be a teacher and a student. Second, it was making decision and run it together. Third is evaluation, and four is the make close connection. We call it mentoring. Make it with, when your student learn, make with them, with every one of them, like a quarter of hour, 10 minutes a week, a personal meeting that you meet by one, and ask him how they feel and what is new happen with them. So this is the 4 things that you can, around these 4 things, do a lot of things in your classroom.
I am not sure I understood the last part. Just to be clear, do you say the teacher meets with the students 10 to 10, one with the teacher, and or students meet together?
No. You meet with
teacher.
Any student 10 minutes as a co-chair.
Okay.
In some places that I see now here in Israel, and it's working also good, you can meet 1 hour with 5 students, and that's also great.
Okay.
And but the idea is that it's not a one way to do democratic classroom or democratic school. Be creative, invite your ideas, share these ideas with other people. This is the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yaacov. I'm sorry for all these perturbations.
I am sorry. I am sorry that I confused with time, because you give me the right time. I confused myself. So thank you.
Never mind, Yaacov. You know, it's a special day. Since the beginning, it's a special day. So you are in the spirit of the day.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you, Yaacov. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You too.